Hello everybody and welcome to Chapter 12, Lesson 3 of Go Math. This is writing equations from tables. Our essential question for today, how can you use an equation to show relationship between two variables? And let's look at our first problem. I recommend that you pause the video and get this written down first and then go back and play it and we'll work through it together. So our first problem, the table shows how much Aiden earns for walking 1, 2, and 3 dogs. How much money does Aiden make per dog? So that's the first question that this problem is asking us to solve. Then write an equation that shows the relationship between the number of dogs and money earned. So let's go ahead and fill in this chart. We've got dogs walked, and our given is 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, and 20. So again, these are the numbers of dogs that Aiden walked. Then on the bottom of our chart is his earnings, how much money he made. I'm just going to put a little dollar sign so we're remembering that this is money. And here's our givens, $8, $16, and $24. And we need to figure out how much did Aiden make when he walked 5 dogs, 10 dogs, and $20. So we can really think of this in terms of ratios, look at it in terms of multiplication. So when Aiden walked 1 dog, he made $8. When he walked 2 dogs, he made $16. When he walked 3 dogs, he made $24. So if we look at the relationship there, we've got 1 times 8 was 8. I should be using the dot for multiplication. Then we had 2 times 8, which gave us $16. Then we had 3 times 8, which gave us $24. So if we continue that multiply by 8 pattern, we could solve our empty boxes. So let's do it. If we had a box for 4 times 8, we would have 32. 5 times 8, we would have 40. So see how I'm just continuing that listing method? And maybe you could put a star or a check mark by the ones that you need. So I can input here $40. Then what about 10? If I skip to 10 times 8, I've got 80, adding that one to my table. So again, if he walks 10 dogs, he's making $80 total. And if he walks 20 dogs, 20 times 8, he would make $160 total. So because I multiplied by 8 every single time, and if I just looked in my chart where I had 1 dog was $8, I could tell that Aiden makes $8 per dog. So I'm answering that first question up here. How much money does Aiden make per dog? He makes $8 per dog. Okay, now my second question. I've written out equations here, but I need to write an equation using variables. And I need to, again, show the relationship between the number of dogs and earnings. So for the purpose of this problem, I'm going to use the variable E for earnings. And I'm going to use the variable D for dogs walked. So I would have E for my total earnings equals $8 per dog times the number of dogs walked, my variable D. So there's my equation. Now I could check and see if I've written this correctly by just plugging it in, exactly what I did up here. So I would just draw an arrow in your notes and write, this is how I can check my work. Last, we need to identify the dependent and independent variable. So Aiden's earnings in this situation depended on how many dogs he walked. So therefore, our independent variable is dogs walked, and our dependent variable is his earnings. Let's move on to another problem. We're going to be writing an equation after looking at a table again. This is 12.3 continued. And here is your table. So you've got X and Y. And then we've got some given numbers here. 0, 0, 1 and 2, and 2 and 4. So we need to figure out how did they get from 0 to 0, 1 to 2, 2 to 4. So hopefully you recognize the relationship in this pattern, that each time you're multiplying by 2. So I have 0 times 2 is 0, so that goes right here. Then I've got 1 times 2 equals 2. Yep, that works right here. And last, I've got 2 times 2 equals 4. Yep, that works. So my pattern is multiply by 2. So now I need to write an equation for this. So I could say y, that's my bottom row here, equals 2 times x. You could also write this as the more academic way, which is y equals 2x. Remember, anytime you have a variable right up against the number, it tells us it's automatically multiplication. So either one of those would work, writing that equation. Okay, last problem. We're going to do try this. This is another table with x and y. All right, so for my x's, I have 4, 6, 8, and 10. And for my y's, I have 7, 9, 11, and 13. So some prime numbers in there to think about. So I would eliminate multiplication. thinking, what else? What other operations could I use here? How did I get from 4 to 7? Then 6 to 9, then 8 to 11, then 10 to 13. We're looking for that common pattern. So if I think about addition, how did I get from 4 to 7? Well, 4, 5, 6, 7. I added 3. What about here? 6 to 9. Yeah, adding 3 works again. 8, 9, 10, 11. Adding 3 and adding 3. So yes, adding 3 works. So the pattern is add 3 to x to get y. How can we put that in an equation using our variables? Well, we've just written it out in word form here. So we could say y equals x plus 3. You could also write it as y equals 3 plus x. Either way, it means the same thing. With addition, you can flip-flop either way. So y equals x plus 3 or y equals 3 plus x, it means the same thing. Then you can check your work. You could just plug in 3 plus 7, 3 plus 4 equals 7. Does it work? If your answer is yes, then you've got your equation correct. So especially on these problems where you have to write an equation, you want to make sure you're checking that work just to make sure that your pattern works for everything. All right, that was 12.3, which was writing equations from tables. Have a great rest of the day.